Hit it, hit it, hit it. Welcome to this week's Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Jamie Henderson, and I'm excited to introduce our guest this week, Miss Mary Beth Martin. Thank you for coming. Mary Beth comes to us from the Earl Scruggs Center, and this isn't the first time you've been on the show, is it?
No, I've been here several times, but glad to be back.
All right, well, welcome back. And when we talk about the Earl Scruggs Center, I like to refer to it as the heart of Cleveland County. I mean, it's right in the middle of the town and right there on the square, and it's in our historic courthouse. How long have you been over there?
So the Earl Scruggs Center opened in 2014, and I've been there since 2018. But you're right, we're right there in the heart of Uptown Shelby in Cleveland County, and really proud to be in the historic Cleveland County Courthouse.
Yeah, and if you've never been in there, you all even have the old jail door still in there as well.
Yes,
is that right?
Yes, there are plenty of pieces of the old courthouse still there. So we have visitors from Cleveland County who come into the museum and say, wow, I remember this, or the courtroom, or, you know, this brings back memories from, you know, times when I was here before. So,
yeah, well, that's exciting. When I went in, it was quite welcoming. I don't know if you all had someone working and they were getting paid, or if it was actually a volunteer, or you all run by more volunteers or paid employees?
So we do have a paid staff. We have full-time and part-time, but we have a wonderful group of volunteers. So that's who welcomed you when you came into the museum. They really are, you know, some of the first people that you meet when you come to the Scruggs Center, and they show you around the museum, and they really are passionate about what we do and very good at talking about the museum and showing people around, making them feel welcome, and then also telling them what to do around town too. We often serve as in that capacity as well.
You're exactly right. When I went in, it was so welcoming. I mean, even just the doors opening, and I really wasn't expecting it to be quite as eccentric as it was. I can tell there was a lot of planning that went into the museum, and a lot of different ideas from different people that went in to coordinate the exhibits. And when you think about Earl Scruggs, you know, you think about country music and the banjo, but there was so much more in there. It was more than just Earl Scruggs. Tell us a little bit about what you can find in the museum and what went into putting it all together.
So, like you said, it took years of planning and working with professional exhibit designers and having conversations with local people too about what was important. And it was really important that, of course, we tell Earl Scruggs' story, and the story of how he grew up in Cleveland County, and he lived on the family farm and worked in the textile mill before he started playing music.
In the Lily Mill, is that right?
In the Lily Mill, before he started playing music professionally. So his story is very much tied to the history of Cleveland County. So we tell the history of Cleveland County alongside Earl's story and make those connections, as well as talk about other music and culture and things that are important to Cleveland County beyond Earl and bluegrass, which of course is a big part of the story. So it's a wonderful museum for people who are not only visiting because they love Earl Scruggs and they're making that trip because they want to go to the place where he was born and the place that shaped his music, but also a lot of local visitors find tons of personal connections and get a lot out of the museum.
I have to ask, Mary Beth, do you play the banjo?
I do not play the banjo. I really love the banjo though.
And talk to us a little bit about Earl's style. So there's like 3 different styles of playing.
Right. You learned a lot at the museum.
I did. I'm telling you, it's exciting in there. Even if you don't like music, or you've never been to Cleveland County, or you don't know the history of any type of music, or you learn so much in there, and there's a lot of interactive exhibits in there as well. So not just for older people like myself, but also kids, you know, things to do in there. So talk to us a little bit about the the styles and what style Earl?
So Earl
chose.
played what's now known as Scruggs style, which
Uh-huh.
is a three-finger style that is really considered to have originated in this area in the Piedmont region of North Carolina and upstate South Carolina. But what Earl did is he took that style, he started playing it when he was 10 years old. He started
Wow.
playing banjo at 4 years old in a two-finger style. But then when he was 10, he started incorporating the third finger and started playing a three-finger style. And he created forward and backward rolls and played it fast with incredible syncopation and took that to a national level. So it's what is called Scruggs style now, and it's really the foundation of bluegrass music. And so now when you see people learning the banjo, more often than not, they're learning Scruggs style, so a style that's synonymous with him, with Earl, you know, who came from Cleveland County and developed that here in Cleveland County. So it's really important for people to understand that and realize that music that came from this area has influenced musicians and styles of music just all around the world.
Yeah, and you know, years and years ago, there wasn't a whole lot of entertainment. I mean, music was the entertainment.
Yes, and that's what that's really the Scruggs family story. So they were a family of musicians. They all played some instrument or another. They also were working on the family farm. Everyone, you know, helped in that effort and worked on the farm. And really, music was how they entertained themselves. You know, played music together. They were all great musicians, and I think that's part of why Earl, you know, just naturally, you know, a great musician, but also practiced that a lot with his brother Horace and other family members.
Now, you all have been open for over a decade, but I think recently you all went through a renovation where you included some new exhibits.
Yes, so we closed down for a couple months at the end of last year and early this year, and we reopened in February with 3 new interactive experiences. So you mentioned the interactives. We've always been very proud of the interactive technology and the exhibits we have at the Scruggs Center, but it was really time to start thinking of some new concepts and some ways to share this information in ways that connect with all kinds of audiences.
Yeah.
You know, younger folks, retired folks. So we have 2
That
really,
one that's there on the screen there. What?
so that's the Common Threads table. That's
Okay.
the new Common Threads classroom.
It does so much.
It does so much. So you have a table there where visitors can strum the strings and explore all kinds of information about regional music, regional history. And what's really cool about this space is we call it the Common Threads classroom because we can actually teach in this space with small groups. So you can send stories from the table to the wall-mounted touch screen, which is what you're seeing people do there. So as small groups come and visit the museum, they can interact together. They can show their friends, you know, here are the things that I'm seeing in the table that I like, so I send it to the wall, or we can actually create lesson plans with content from the table.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. So this is the Common Threads classroom. We're really proud of that renovated space.
And from just the little bit of time I spent on the Common Threads table, you could spend hours just sitting there at that table.
Yes, we'll have visitors come to the museum and think they're going to breeze through in an hour or so, and then they're there for 2 hours because there's just so much information there, and it's really engaging. So we're seeing now that people are spending longer in the museum and coming back for repeat visits.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good because that helps with, you know, keeping the museum going as well. Because I believe that you all probably run off a lot of donations and grants and things.
Absolutely. We do a lot of fundraising, and in fact, you know, just really honored that the community came together and supported this project. Over a year and a half, we raised about $1 million
Wow.
to install these new interactive exhibits and support some programming that we do. And so we're just very fortunate. There are a lot of generous people who supported the museum to get it open, you know, years ago before 2014, have continued to support the museum, and then did it a second time with this capital campaign.
Oh, that's excellent. I think you all recognize those individuals there. Upstairs, you all have the plaques and things on the wall, so it's nice to see the local families that we've all grown up to know just there and know that they've been given back, and that opportunity for the Earl Scruggs Center to be there, and so that we can continue on to let everyone know what a legend, you know, that Earl was. So. Some other interactive things you have, we showed some on the screen there a minute ago. There's where you can actually strum on the guitar or the banjo.
That's right. There's a new interactive experience called the Pick and Story, and it's 5 touch screens, and each touch screen will feature one of the instruments from a bluegrass ensemble, bluegrass band. So you have dobro and banjo, fiddle, mandolin, bass, and guitar. And visitors can actually strum the instruments. They can participate in a jam session, so you can hear how each of those instruments collaborates within the bluegrass ensemble to create a song. But then beyond that, there's so much content in each of those interactives that tells you about the history of the instrument, what musicians like Earl made major contributions to the way this instrument is played today, and really the history of the instrument, not only in the origination, but through bluegrass music.
Now, Mary Beth, I'm not a musician. I tried to play the flute when I was in the band, and I tell you, I would tie for last chair every time. So,
Well, even you can play these instruments on the Pick and Story Interactive.
Yeah, I was able to go in there and play, and I thought, wow, how creative! That was a lot of creativity went into putting that display together.
Absolutely. We spent over close to 2 years developing these interactives with a firm with a great reputation that does software media development, worked with us to create that software. And then actually our staff members created the content to go into the exhibit, so we're really proud of it.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of jam sessions, y'all have a summer concert series coming up, don't you?
Yeah, so it actually started back in early April. We started our Center Stage concert series. This is our 5th year of the concert series, and we have 5 concerts through August. So our next one coming up is Don Flemons. But the purpose of the Center Stage concert is to bring nationally touring musicians to the Scruggs Center in front of a small, intimate audience in our great hall. So usually, we'll have 100 people in that room to see really these incredible musicians not only play their music but tell their story and talk about the music. So we have a really great lineup this year. Earlier in the year we had the Hen House Prowlers.
Okay.
We have Daryl Scott, and then in June we'll have Don Flemons, and then July the Burnett Sisters, and August we'll finish up the series with Mason Vi, who's a North Carolina musician.
Okay, and those shows start at 6 o'clock?
They start at 6 o'clock. Thursday evenings, we encourage people just to go to our website and read more information about that, and that's where you can purchase tickets.
Okay, so purchase tickets on the website, and they run about 35?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
And then what about if you don't get it on the website, can you just show up on the
It
night
depends.
event?
Because we have such a small audience, often those shows could be sold out, so I just encourage people to purchase your tickets ahead. And if you're uncomfortable purchasing online, you can always come into our gift shop and purchase tickets or call us, and we're happy to help.
Who has been your favorite?
Oh, that's really hard. The Hen House Prowlers are really an annual favorite. This will be the 3rd year that they've participated in the concert series, and that is because they spend so much time in Cleveland County. They come here, and this was their 5th year doing this.
Oh, wow.
And to give educational programming to all of our Cleveland County 4th graders, where they're nationally touring musicians who also work with the U.S. State Department to do cultural diplomacy around the world. But what's really cool is they take bluegrass music, a style that Earl helped invent, all around the world, and they come here to Cleveland County to tell our students really how important the music and culture that comes from this region, the place where they're growing up, is to the world. And so they've been giving these wonderful programs, and then they give a concert. It's really a sweet experience.
Oh, how sweet. I have a sister that works in 4th grade over at Elizabeth Elementary, and she was telling me about how all the 4th graders got to go over. They get their earbuds when they get there, and actually before they got there, they had some type of activity that you all provide for them, and maybe like where they have to go out and fill out some work, and it's very interactive for them. But what a great opportunity for our local 4th graders to have somewhere that is local that they can go out and learn about the music. And I think upstairs, do they get to go upstairs as well? Because that's the fun part. That is exciting.
They get to go to the Great Hall, and they have a special program there where we'll have a musician or some sort of educator come and talk about our local culture, whether it's music or dance or storytelling. And so what's important, I think, about our field trip experience is that not only are they learning about Cleveland County history, which is part of the curriculum in 4th grade, but they're also learning about how our history and how our music and our culture is really important. And hopefully when they leave these field trip experiences, whether it's the on-site or the Bluegrass Ambassadors program, they feel a sense of pride in where they're growing up, and they feel a personal connection to that too.
All right, well, we're going to cut out to a short break. Don't go too far, because when we get back, I'm going to get Mary Beth to tell you about the other room that's upstairs that has all the instruments in there. Tune in to Senior Moments here on C19 TV. I am Jackie Sibley Newton with Terabella Assisted Living. Whether you are a senior planning for your own future or helping someone make decisions, Senior Moments has got information to share. We talk about the wealth of services, activities, and healthy living options available to you here in our area. That's Senior Moments on C19 and also on C19.tv.
We always have had
That's
a
true.
certain courtesy to other people upon their retirement or somebody's passing.
I got something nice to say about our retirement.
Well, we're not.
Good riddance.
Oh, was it you?
First, he put giant flagpoles on the White House lawn like it was a Buc-ee's, and then he cemented over the Rose Garden. Then he turned the Oval Office into a place that looks like a New Orleans cat house.
Well, I'm sure President Obama evaluated both candidates and went with the best one, better one.
Yeah, one of
But
them
I
had a D
was-
by her name.
Well, one cannot help but wonder why. Betsy, one possibility would be that the Hurricanes are now afraid to enter the newly named Gulf of America while Trump's in the White House.
Welcome back to this week's Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Jamie Henderson, and we've been talking with Miss Mary Beth Martin. She's Executive Director over at the Earl Scruggs Center. And before the break, we had an opportunity to talk about some concerts that were going on. And we've got into talking about the rooms that were upstairs at the Earl Scruggs Center. And I have to admit that my favorite part of going was the room with all the instruments in there. I was completely wowed at how many different instruments are in there, and that we're able to go in and play them. And there's all kind of music. Now, I'm not good at reading music, but if I was, it was there. And I had the opportunity to get to play the banjo, which I had never done before. Also, there was guitars up there that I could play, all types of shakers. I mean, if I would have had some people with me, I might have could have put some music together.
So that's the education room, and it is a popular location at the Earl Scruggs Center, primarily for our younger visitors, and that's really what it's there for. Exactly what you said. For visitors to come in and be able to pick up these instruments that they've been learning about and seeing in the museum, whether it's, like you said, banjos or guitars or mandolins, or even some more traditional instruments like a washboard, or, you know, percussion instruments like shakers, maracas, things like that. So it's just a place where we want people to explore and feel free to do that. You know, it is sort of themed towards children, but we do see visitors of all ages picking instruments. And of course, I always appreciate it when musicians come and visit the museum, because they tune them up for us.
Oh, that's excellent.
It's difficult to keep, you know, 20 instruments tuned in that room, but we do our best.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see that. And you all do some summer camps up there as well?
Yes, we do. So that Great Hall, which we were talking about for the concert series, is really our event and programming space. We do a lot, whether it's lunch and learn programs, concerts, but we also do our summer camps there. And so we do summer guitar and banjo camps, beginner and intermediate. So in June, we will have our beginner camps, a beginner guitar camp, and it's primarily for young people, and a beginner banjo camp, also for young learners.
Okay.
And what this has grown from is, as we've been doing these Bluegrass Ambassadors programs, there have been students who've become interested in learning how to play these instruments. And so we felt like it was very important that we offered an opportunity to do that in a way that they don't have to pay a lot to do that, because often it's cost prohibitive to learn an instrument, whether that's buying an instrument
It
or
is.
paying for lessons or attending an expensive music camp. So we do it for very inexpensively, and what's really important too is that we offer scholarships too. So if there's a student who's very interested in participating but says, I just can't pay the registration fee, give us a call.
Oh,
Give
that's
us a
nice
call.
to know.
There are scholarships available, and we also have instruments available too through the camps. And then also, if they want to continue learning, they can also borrow instruments from us. So we want to give young learners as much of an opportunity as possible to learn these instruments. And then later in the summer, we have intermediate camps. So those are students who might have a little bit of experience. Maybe they've attended camps the last couple summers with us, and they're ready to sort of graduate to that next level. So we do intermediate camps in July.
Okay.
And both of those, all 4 of those camps, both beginner guitar and banjo and intermediate guitar and banjo, those are with local musician and music educator Justin Harper, who's the orchestra teacher at Crest Middle School.
Okay, yeah, we know Justin. Do I need an instrument to be able to come to the camps?
You do not. So we have, we'll have some students who will bring an instrument. Perhaps they got a guitar for Christmas and they can't wait to learn.
Right.
But we also have instruments at the Scruggs Center. We have a classroom set of guitars and banjos that were actually donated to us by Gibson Gives. And then we've been able to purchase other instruments through grant funding from the Dover Foundation. And so we have instruments there for students to use during the camp and to potentially borrow if they want to continue learning after the camps too.
Talk about that mission to when you come in, like if you're just wanting to come in. I noticed that you all do free admission for Cleveland County residents.
We
and I feel
do.
like that's something that some people may not even know, but that's on Saturdays.
Saturdays, we have free admission for Cleveland County residents. Previously, it had been on Wednesdays. And, of course, we're always looking at our visitation and when, folks are spending the most time in the museum, and we just felt like that it was important to move that free admission day to Saturdays to give more people and families opportunities to visit the museum. So free admission day for Cleveland County residents is on Saturdays, and we're open from 10 to 4. And we encourage everyone to come out. Even if you've been before, we're constantly updating our permanent exhibits like we've talked about. We've installed new interactives. So there's always something new to see at the Scruggs Center. We also have special exhibits that are temporary in that they're there just for a certain amount of time. And so recently we opened a new special exhibit called Voices of the Frontier,
Right.
which is looking at Cleveland County on the eve of the Revolution, on the eve of independence. And what that exhibit does, it documents the people who are here, who are settling Cleveland County, the different people groups who are here and their experiences leading up to the Revolutionary War, which of course is really important to the history of Cleveland County with, the Battle of Kings Mountain.
Absolutely.
And that being a turning point of the war. But this is documenting those people and their experiences as they're settling Cleveland County and building, what we know now to be Cleveland County.
Where did you all get the loom from?
Oh, the loom is part of the Cleveland County Historical Collection. So
Okay.
we also manage that on behalf of the county because we have a professional curator who is trained to do that. And so we manage that collection, and we use the Cleveland County Historical Collection throughout our exhibits. So this was a loom that was actually in the collection that was donated to the collection in the 90s, I believe, in about 1990, 1991 by Hoyt Bailey. And it comes from Cleveland County. It's it was made a little bit later than the American Revolution, but it does date back to roughly around that time period, and is representative of how people would have made their clothing, and other textiles during that time in Cleveland County.
All right. Another part that I really enjoyed was learning about Louise, Earl's wife, and how she managed them. And I just thought that very interesting that she's very talented herself.
Absolutely. Like Earl, Earl was a groundbreaking musician. Louise was a groundbreaking business person. She really set the standard for a professional music manager before that was a thing. So she was managing Earl Scruggs' career and Flatt & Scruggs by 1955 when that really wasn't a profession yet. And she managed their booking, she managed their publicity, she managed their TV appearances. She's the one who is striking the deals for them to appear and play music on the Beverly Hillbillies, which introduced Flatt & Scruggs, all across the nation,
Right.
put them on the television. She also is, managing the deal when, the Foggy Mountain Breakdown is the theme song for the hit movie Bonnie and Clyde. And she's also the one saying, hey, why don't you make a live album at Carnegie Hall? You know, she is really the brilliance, I think, behind a lot of their success. So you have Earl, who's the talent, which you can't do it without, but then you also have to have the manager behind that, and that was certainly Louise. And she not only managed his career with Flatt and Scruggs, but beyond that, and helped position Earl in different genres of music, collaborating with all kinds of musicians, and you know, managed his career with the Earl Scruggs Review. That was sort of the next chapter after Flatt and Scruggs, and really helped introduce Earl to new audiences, making him part of the folk revivals important too, and in the 70s, and just sort of keeping him on the cutting edge of things. And Louise did that, you know, until she passed away. And so she's a big part of Earl's success and a big part of his story, and we're really proud to be able to tell that at the Scruggs Center.
Yeah, I enjoyed that part of it. You know, it's always nice to read something, you know, about a successful woman. And, you know, they always say behind every man, there's always a woman telling him what to do, right?
That's certainly the case in Earl Scruggs' story.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that Louise was, you know, that partner with him, making sure that he was successful behind the scenes. And we honor her, so we have a new special exhibit in our Strings on Screen exhibit. We do have a narrated story about her that's narrated by Allison Brown, who herself is an incredible businesswoman in Nashville and a banjo player, an award-winning banjo player. So she narrates that story for us, and she's the most recent honoree of the Louise Scruggs Memorial Forum at the Country Music Hall of Fame. But at the Earl Scruggs Music Festival this year, we're debuting a new stage, and it's the Louise Scruggs stage.
Oh.
So we're paying tribute to Louise and trying to tell her story and making sure that she's as well known as Earl is, you know, in everything that we do.
Tell me a little bit about the music festival.
So the Earl Scruggs Music Festival, this is the 5th year. We're celebrating the fifth year of that. It's a partnership between us at the Earl Scruggs Center, Isothermal Community College's radio station, WNCW 88.7, and the Tryon International Equestrian Center, which is the venue for the music festival. And so it has grown exponentially over the last few years. Last year was our biggest year yet, and we expect with the lineup that we recently released for this year's festival to continue to expand. You know, we are adding the new large stage. We had 2 stages. We had a main stage and we had a smaller Foggy Mountain stage. Now we're adding the 3rd stage.
Okay.
So we just are planning for it to expand and grow. We're very excited about this year's lineup. Our headliner on Sunday is the Avett Brothers, which is, of course, a major North Carolina, beloved North Carolina act. And you'll see North Carolina acts all through this lineup. So we're paying tribute to Earl, but also to the music that comes from North Carolina that continues to influence, you know, music internationally, and that's what we do through this festival.
Okay, and if somebody's interested in that festival or any other activities, is the best place to learn that information on your website?
You can learn that all on our website, earlscruggscenter.org.
earlscruggscenter.org, and I see you all are active on social media as well.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We do, you know, post all of our activities as well as other interesting things going on at the center. And then I also encourage people to join our newsletter list. We send out a very extensive monthly newsletter where we update on the things that are happening. Here are the events coming up this month, so that's the best way to stay up to date about that, you know, direct with registration links, as well as sort of previewing some of our upcoming activities beyond a month out.
All right, and can I learn about some volunteer activities and donate as well on your website?
You can learn about all of that on our website.
Okay, good.
You know, we are always looking for volunteers. We were talking about them earlier. People who are passionate about our local history or about music or just want to be a welcoming, friendly face for visitors from out of town. So if anyone's looking for a volunteer opportunity, we can use you once a month. We can use you once a week. We just encourage you to reach out through our website, info@earlscruggscenter.org, or give us a call. You can find that information on our website. And then memberships. You know, our members are extremely important to what we do. They help support the things that we do at the Scruggs Center, and there are various levels of membership. So we encourage people just to look at that and consider joining us as a member and help support our work that way.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate the work that you're doing, and it's really nice to have that museum to be able to go to right here in Cleveland County. And I encourage you, if you've not been over there, they certainly have something for everyone. Mary Beth, thank you so much for coming back and seeing us again. We hope to have you on the couch again soon. Hope the summer festivals go really nice. I know that they are always a big hit over there at the Tryon Center. So thank you for coming in. And if you haven't visited, I encourage you to get over there. Again, it's free admission for Cleveland County residents on Saturday. If you have a story that you'd like to share with us, or maybe you'd like to come sit on the couch, email us at info@c19.tv. We are so glad you joined us today, and we hope to see you again next week.